Tucker Carlson has ripped the mask completely off and is now going full psycho mode and siding publicly and openly with Putin. You'd think he already did that. No, I know. But now he's saying it more explicitly than ever. In a conversation that's yet to fully come out, but in the preview, we got this. Chris Cuomo and him got to the topic of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and then ongoing negotiations and Trump's messing up of everything. And here, Tucker just says what we all have known about him. And we have so much in this segment relating to Tucker just going off the deep end. Something seriously wrong with Tucker Carlson. And I mean in a concerning manner. Not just he's saying crazy stuff, like I'm concerned for him. But here he says this.
Putin does not have absolute control of his country, and there are all kinds of potential rivals. He's been there for 20
sound more sympathetic towards him than towards Zelensky.
I'm definitely more sympathetic to Putin than Zelensky for the following reason. I think it's fair to judge leaders on how they do for their country. They have one job. Do a good job for your country. Make it better.
You think Russia's doing well?
Oh, a lot better than Ukraine.
Well, yeah, they're under siege right now.
No, but I'm just saying, like, Russia actually, for a country at war, is thriving.
He's just going, I am a Kremlin propagandist. That's what he's saying now. He's just saying it. If you appreciate the show, please do click the subscribe button. What we have upcoming, I want you to just be reminded of Tucker's mannerisms, because then I have someone who imitates him, and it's so funny. It's so funny because it underlines how absurd he is. I really don't think he takes time to really learn about things. The Atlantic released a piece. Russia is not winning. At the current rate, Russia will control all of Ukraine in about 118 years. So despite the propagandist lies that we get from people, the reality is, while yes, this has been catastrophic for Ukraine, given the expectations and the power of Russia's been devastated themselves and humiliated in their inability to achieve Putin's goals more to his liking. And so, to Tucker's metric, let's just remind everyone, up to, I'll just say, because all the exact numbers are different depending on who's doing the report, but hundreds of thousands of Russian soldiers have been killed because of Putin. That's good leadership. For a meaningless, needless, aggressive, offensive, illegal, lustful attempt to take over sovereign land. That's what Putin has sacrificed hundreds of thousands of his own citizens for. And to think about the resources, population, and geography of Russia, they could be much more prosperous. It's true they're doing better economically than you would think. But whenever they see difficult economic metrics, it's so frequently because Putin's aggression caused backlash. And so imagine if they would open themselves up to a more stable leader. Imagine what Russia could see economically and otherwise. Last year, Russia made slow progress in Ukraine. Tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of Russian soldiers were killed or wounded, and whole mechanized divisions were lost in exchange for Ukrainian territory slightly larger than the state of Rhode Island. They really have not made much progress other than mass devastation. Is that a good, strong leader to Tucker? One who would sacrifice hundreds of thousands of his own civilians in an incompetent way, in a needless way, because he's obsessed with his own glory? Strange, Tucker. Really, really strange. One other thing before getting to other clips. Barros told me that Russia's ability to recruit new personnel is completely busted. Vladimir Putin has relied on mercenary and convict soldiers, combined with lavish bonuses for poor Russians who volunteer to try their luck against killer Ukrainian robots on the steppe. But Zelensky putting up a defense that no one could have expected. Tucker surely didn't, and thought Russia would parade right on through Ukraine. But really, at this rate, it would take 118 years to accomplish the entire goal. And that's to him, Zelensky doing wrong by his people and Putin doing right by his people. It's demented. We'll get to something demonic, by the way. Yes, we're going back to Tucker's demon story in a little bit, but it hasn't just been that statement. He's also now on this, Were we really the good guys in World War II?
Just to take it back to the first thing I said, and I'll shut up and let you answer, but if Churchill is a hero, how come there are British girls begging for drugs on the street of London? And
I'm not laughing at the begging. I'm laughing at that ridiculous statement. What? What? If America is really great, why was a homeless guy outside of the 7-Eleven this morning? Yeah, a country can have problems, and defeating a fascist takeover of Europe can be good at the same time, historically and in the present. Wow. Than this.
what really was going on? So, for example, and I'm American, I'm not English, so I don't have any weird motive in asking this, but how would you assess Winston Churchill?
I got in trouble with my podcast partner, Jocko Willink, one time because he's a New England Dutchman whose his family, it's near and dear to, they're Dutch, but very near and dear to their heart that Winston Churchill is a hero, right?
Well, everyone
thinks that. He really thinks that. And I told him that I think, and maybe I'm being a little hyperbolic, maybe, but I told him, maybe trying to provoke him a little bit, that I thought Churchill was the chief villain of the Second World War.
And then he goes on to do Nazi apologia by insisting that despite this being contradicted by historical fact, that Hitler just kept being provoked. Churchill could have brought peace. It's a very Trumpian argument. He could have made a deal. He could have said, Adolf, you got to settle. He could have said that. It is something else. And think about also before playing this next clip, if he believes this about Churchill, and again, it feels like he's saying that in place of a bigger question. Churchill in the UK, what was so significant about his fight against leading the country in its fight against the Nazis? How does that not go over to the key tenets of our belief about America, or the achievement that defeating the Nazis on the part of America was? It seems like it quickly unravels a really important part of what right-wingers used to say about their patriotism, which was a part that I agreed about our patriotism in this.
So I'm very distressed about it. So people want to tell me Churchill's an incredible guy. Really? Well, why didn't he save Western civilization? He didn't even save Poland.
He did.
What did he?
He did save Western civilization.
How?
He defeated the Nazis.
But I know he helped defeat the Nazis, with his friend Stalin.
The Nazis wanted the whole world to be speaking
I'm
German.
not defending the Nazis. I'm just saying, where is Western civilization? What did he preserve? Where is it? I don't know where it is.
Churchill died the year before I was born. Oh, the same year, actually.
He died in 63, I think.
65.
65.
I think about a month before I was born. It was a natural succession. But the
the question is, like, where's the victory? I don't understand. Like, everyone wants to yell at you for not loving Churchill. Okay,
well, hang on,
show me the victory.
Well, yeah, but
it's a theoretical.
Again, he does this. He gets fixated on a person like Zelensky because he doesn't want to say what it seems like he really is getting at, which was what was so great about opposing the Nazis. I'm not saying that he would go there yet, but wait, what? We don't really have Western civilization. But even his salivating over Russia, like the homeless person example, the beggar example, even by those metrics, go look at, and I've been meaning to lay this out in the show at some point, but go look at the well-being of folks in countries comparatively to ours or to other Western democracies versus countries under authoritarian rule. It's really sad to see something I thought united us as Americans, which is, even with our problems, it is a violation of our dedication to our veterans that so many of them are homeless, or to people that don't have health care. We are failing in many ways. But if you zoom out, the fact that we've been able to stand for, not perfectly, but continue to try to stand for principles of individual liberties, of freedom, of rights that people in many other countries don't have. The fact that we were able to prevent someone who was so willing to slaughter millions and millions of people from conquering more land and influence, presumably on the way to doing much more of that. The fact that we don't like someone who murders his political opponents, that those things were supposed to unite us as Americans. But now you have the contrarian in Chief Tucker going, wait, what was so great about? Be it Churchill or any other leader or all the countries that opposed the Nazis. What was so great about that? If we have problems now. Yeah, we have problems now. It'd be a lot worse if Nazi Germany attained the influence that Hitler sought. Then you have a hilarious video here of someone imitating Tucker Carlson.
I mean, the opening scene where they're storming the beach at Normandy, I was offended by that, actually.
How were you offended?
I mean, I certainly wouldn't want anyone on my beach if I was building a sandcastle with my family, with my children, and soldiers started coming on. I would be offended by that, deeply offended by that. And it's their beach. I mean, what are they doing on the beach to begin with?
Well, Nazi Germany had invaded France.
If somebody destroyed my sandcastle that I worked hard at, I think I would fight hard to defend that. I'd fight to the death to defend that. Who wouldn't?
I don't think they were building sandcastles.
So it's not clear to me that those people storming the beach were in any way virtuous. If anything, they were imposing on someone else's property.
What?
I mean, I'm certainly a fan of the beach. I like going to the beach. I enjoy taking my family, my children. But it's concerning that we would allow for anyone to just storm a beach on a random day. So I'm not so sure what to make of that opening scene. I'm not saying I condone it. Certainly it's horrible. It's a horrible scene to watch. How would you feel if you were enjoying a day at the beach and suddenly the American army, with all its military might, just showed up and just started storming the beach? I certainly wouldn't enjoy that. I would fight against that. I think any normal person would.
The Nazi regime wasn't enjoying a day at the beach. They had invaded France and were bent on world domination.
And the person who made this film was Steven Spielberg, I believe. And do we think there's any reason why he may have wanted the narrative of the film to favor one side?
As opposed to the Nazis?
It's a fair question.
Spielberg? What do you mean, because he was Jewish?
It's a fair question. Of course.
And that was Amy Kozak, a comedian. Oh my goodness, it's so accurate. Oh, so what? We're just supposed to... They do this too a lot. What, so we're just supposed to uncritically accept that everything about the Holocaust, this is a big thing right now in extreme right-wing spaces, was documented correctly? We're just supposed to accept that? No, go research it yourself. Go, learn. You don't have to ask these open-ended questions that have answers. They have answers, Tucker. It's interesting, too, that in the past, in talking about others, Tucker has explained exactly what he'd gone on to do.
The sad thing about Pat Buchanan, as far as I'm concerned, and just to restate, I mean, Pat does raise issues that I think are important. I mean, I think that, the sovereignty of the American military, et cetera, I mean, these are not just crank issues. But unfortunately, Pat Buchanan raises them in a way that I think is discredited. And when attacked, he can always fall back on the line, well, the tiny cabal that controls American politics doesn't like me because I speak truth to power. This is actually, incidentally, almost verbatim what he said the other day, that I offend the plutocracy, that I'm a wanted man by the inside the Beltway people, and in every sense cast himself as a victim who is sort of a Karen Silkwood of politics, someone who's so truthful that he's being hunted down by the...
Sound familiar? That's what Tucker says. But just, I've been really patient. I've been patiently waiting to bring back up this clip of Tucker Carlson because it makes me giggle, where he tells the story of how he was attacked, supposedly, by a demon. Maybe the demon is the one who came to him and said, "Rare." Maybe the Nazis weren't so bad.
You think the presence of evil is kickstarting people to wonder about the good?
That's what happened to me.
That's what happened to you?
Oh yeah, I had a direct experience with it.
In the milieu of journalism, or just...
Nope, in my bed at night, and I got attacked while I was asleep with my wife and 4 dogs in the bed and mauled. Physically mauled.
In a spiritual attack by a demon?
Yeah, by a demon.
Yeah, 100% by a demon, or my dog.
Or by something unseen that left...
Is that right?
Claw marks on my sides, on my...
So it left physical marks?
Oh, they're still there. Yeah, yeah.
year and a
Show us. If they're there, show us, and we'll see if they look like dog scratches.
half ago.
Was your wife terrified? I know you were.
I wasn't. I was totally confused. I woke up and I couldn't breathe, and I thought I was going to suffocate, and I walked around outside, and then I walked in, and my wife and dogs had not woken up, and they're very light sleepers. And then I had these terrible pains on my rib cage and on my shoulder, and I was just in my boxer shorts, and I went and flipped on the light in the bathroom, and I had 4 claw marks on either side underneath my arms and on my left shoulder, and they're bleeding.
Wait, they were bleeding?
They were bleeding, yeah. No, they're actual claw marks. And I sleep on my side, so I wasn't clawing myself. I don't have long nails.
I'm going to play this 10 years from now. I'm going to still be playing it. It's just, if you wanted to tell that story, why didn't you exclude that 4 dogs were in the bed? 4 dogs were in the bed who notoriously have scratchers. Okay? But yes, I never play that clip without playing this one.
Because he wanted to, but just he taped so much stuff because it is Halloween. It's kind of seen as a time for that. But this is no joke. This is real. And I know Tucker's not joking. So I'm not going to put this out tonight. Plus, I want to do it in the studio. I got to get permission. I'm sure he'll be fine with it. And the last point is that I was telling him about some of my experiences, and he wanted me taping his podcast the next day to tell him. And I said, the public can't handle it. I said, why don't you tell him your story? He goes, you're right. I get your point. So I guess now was the time for him to tell it. But I got the feeling he was going to tell the story on air, but I told my story. It's more than one story. It's one poltergeist. That's what it was. I mean, poltergeist. There's no doubt about it. I'll tell the story tomorrow. It was like real obvious. Didn't say anything, but I mean, maybe.
Were you? How do I say this? Were you not under the influence of anything? Okay, let me just ask that as a first little checker. But
in fact, he did tell me part of it not to ever tell. Saying to call him. And then I'll tell you my...
I was trying to find the right part of this.
I knew how it happened. And I said, recently, has anyone laid hands on you? It just came to me, and he said, he got really freaked out. He kind of got up. He went to the bathroom. He came back, and he said, I haven't even told my wife this. I haven't told anybody. He goes, it was just a week ago. I was on an airplane flying back here, and this happened a while back before that, and it started clicking to him, was that when this happened?
I don't know what he's saying. But by the way, at the beginning of this, it looks like he's in the back seat. Okay. I thought he was driving the car while he was filming. But no, he wasn't. All right, good. Wow. So this is kind of a joke, but maybe whatever happened that night broke something in the brain. And since then, Tucker hasn't been the same. Because I think what happens is you build so to believe a lot of the things that they ideologically believe, you have to deny a lot of expert consensuses, and you have to say that the establishment, the accepted consensuses on almost everything scientifically or socially or medically, it's all wrong, and you kind of create that deep state narrative, because then you can reject any studies, you can reject any research, you can reject a lot of things out of hand as fake news, and of course that's what they want you to believe. They want you to believe this. But then you go down that, and the more and more you do it, the more and more it has to apply to everything. So then the inevitable outcome of that is you asking, what was so great about defeating the Nazis, essentially, right? Because you go down the road, and eventually you're going to get to the biggest historical consensus. And if you start wanting to align yourself with authoritarian, potentially fascist regimes, then yes, that's going to connect back to history as well. And that's what seems to be happening. And Putin, Freudian slip, Tucker admits he is more sympathetic to Putin than Ukraine, which is to say he's more sympathetic to the person who started an offensive, murderous invasion, slaughtering a bunch of civilians because of his lust for power. He's more sympathetic to that guy than the guy defending the country that's a sovereign nation that Russia accepted was a sovereign nation and then went on to invade it. What do you say about something like that? That's, I guess, what you said. You know, in the moment, go back. We're going to edit bleeps later. I just did this. So that was awkward. Share your thoughts in the comments.